Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore. It's our post-match review with myself, Chris, and the blue tick man, Dan Wales, has come back out of his university hibernation to talk about tonight's game. Mate, what an unbelievable result. Who would have thought would beat Ralph Hasenhüttl in his backyard? The sour little bastard that he is. I'm over the moon. Stick that up here, Ralph. 2-1. What a fucking result, mate.
The irony is that, of course, two of our January signings who would not have played in this fixture had it been played at the correct time, scored to give us the win tonight, which just makes that just that little bit sweeter, doesn't it? I mean,
just mint.
Chris Wood with a bullet header to get us level, and then some absolute filth,
mate,
from Bruno Guimaraes.
We're going to talk about Bruno as the song goes, mate, 100%, because how could we not after scoring an unbelievable goal like that, mate? But just before we get stuck into it, guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, please remember to like and subscribe. We're always looking for more subscribers. We're getting close to getting to the 200 mark, which is amazing. We've had real growth over the last couple of months. Thank you so much to everybody who's clicked that button. If you haven't, please click already. We'd love to have a bit more of you on board and see what we do every week with Evermore on the normal podcast and obviously post-match reviews like this. Let's get stuck straight into it, Dan, with the team news then, mate. So the big change was obviously we lost one Brazilian and we replaced him with another. So Bruno Guimaraes came in for Joe Linton, who wasn't in the squad, carrying a knock. But other than that, it was unchanged. So obviously going into this game, we were a little bit worried because Southampton are a bit of a streaky side. I think I've said that a few times. They've got an absolute pasting off Villa. But I don't know about you, Dan. I was a bit concerned going into this that we would probably get a bit of a backlash, mate. What was your initial thought going into the game?
I thought, to be fair, Southampton have been in very good form. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, as you mentioned there, a bit of a tonking at the weekend. But I was still half confident because I thought, well, we're in better form than they are. If you look at the form table over the last few games, to be fair, when I saw that Joe Linton wasn't playing, it did concern me because I thought we'd miss him, and we did. I thought we did get a bit of a run at times in the midfield.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Bruno isn't the type of player Joe Linton is. He's more of a get the ball in the field, pass it around, sort of dictate, whereas Joe Linton is the sort of the bulk, does the dirty work and brings the ball forward. But in the end, it didn't matter, did it?
No, it didn't matter, mate. We'll get stuck in that in a minute. But obviously, we started well. Obviously, knocked the ball around well. Southampton looked like they were up for it as well. Definitely that game in the weekend, I think, was ringing in their ears. Obviously, Hasenhüttl wanting them to put on a show. Just a bit before the game, obviously, it was very difficult for us in the UK to watch it if you weren't at the game live. It wasn't televised anywhere. Everybody was looking for streams here, there, and everywhere. I was watching a decent stream, and before the game, I don't know if you've been down to St Mary's, Dan, but
I've not been before, no.
What the fuck were they doing before the game? There was pyrotechnics, there was dark lights. My wife said, "Why is it so dark?" And I said, "I think they think they're in the fucking NFL or something, Southampton." I don't know what the hell that was about, mate. Weird.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a one for massive sort of light shows and things like that. Flags is like, as we have, they're more sort of football based, and there's always been things like that, but
yeah,
it seems a bit Americanized, doesn't it? And then I've also heard that some of their halftime songs were all money based.
Oh yes, I think their DJ was definitely sticking the knife in. It was, but we certainly got the last laugh on that one, mate. Then we all should have just started doing Wolf of Wall Street money shots like that. I hope the away fans were doing that just to shit him right up, mate. But get back into the game. Obviously, as we say, Southampton looked up for it. We looked a bit tired. We looked a bit leggy. I agree with that, mate. I think I tweeted that Shelby looked shot, and he did in the earlier stage.
He did a little bit of time, but of course then he ended up putting a really good ball in for Chris Wood at the same time.
He did, which we'll get into that in a minute, mate. But obviously it didn't start great for us. A cross comes in, kind of made a bit of a meal of it, didn't we? And then Stuart Armstrong pounces with a header, 25th minute, puts them ahead, mate. A little bit concerning, but as we say, Eddie Howe's black and white army compared to Steve Bruce's Newcastle United, they just don't give up. They don't die. They don't roll over. As you rightly said, it was almost a curse of the Twitter for me. I tweeted and said, Shelby shot to shit. And then a couple of minutes later, he whips in an unbelievable cross. And that man, big Chris Wood, mate, what a header.
Chris, I just hope that on Sunday when we play Chelsea, you tweet that you think Emil Kraft is awful. Because then he's going to score a worldie, isn't
I'll always tweet that about Emil Kraft because he is fucking awful as well. Yeah,
from James.
Yes, James, the Lynchman. Well, the Lynchman actually called this right on Evermore on Wednesday, so he's purring with himself with having his psychic abilities. Lottery numbers tomorrow, please, James. Thank you, please. But it was a fantastic shout by James to call it 2-1. But you're right, mate. Obviously, the ball comes in, and Chris Wood took that header. really confident, mate, didn't he? Didn't look like a striker that was struggling with that.
I mean, obviously, we've all thought perhaps he wasn't very confident, but then again, on Saturday, that first goal was as a direct result of him, his lovely turn and ball through to Jacob Murphy. So he's been doing good little bits. He just needed that goal, and finally tonight it came. It was as I say, a great ball in by Shelby and a bullet header, and that got us back on level terms. Newcastle, again, we weren't perhaps brilliant tonight, as good as we can be, but we're just so hard to beat now, I think, is the main sort of point. We're not conceding many. We're scoring goals. No, Mark, the run's never going to end. We're going to just
a good win for your boys as well, night, Mark. What a win for your boys as well, mate. Leeds looking big trouble, Dan, don't they? Just as a little side note.
Oh, there, gosh, yes.
Dropping like Stern.
I know.
George James, I've just asked him the same question. I thought he was sat in the toilet.
No, this is the kitchen, okay?
God, right. You get the complex here. You'll be telling your folks to like decorate the kitchen or something there, mate, when you get 2 minutes. God bless him. God bless him. But no, mate, as you say, a fantastic header. I was actually about to tweet as well. Why is Chris Wood wearing orange boots? He's shit. And then he scored a header. So I think potentially my kind of negative gripey tweets are spurring these players on, possibly, mate. So maybe I should just keep them coming.
We just need to tweet bad things about all our players and then it's going to keep
possibly just really bad things. But obviously we get to half time, we're ones each. It looks pretty good. The game's pretty open. I suppose from a neutral point of view, we fancy it. Come out in the second half. Obviously Southampton probably had a bit of a rollicking off Ralph Hasenhüttl. And they come out again. They're coming out strong. Dubravka had to be on his toes a little bit as well, mate, didn't he? I think it was a cross from
the end of the game as well.
Yeah, cross come shot from the right back, wasn't it? Is it Levelio? I can't remember his name.
Yes.
And we had to be on his toes there. I think the best save he made was the header, wasn't it, from the centre half?
But then he made another good one in the 95th from Armstrong as well.
Adam Armstrong, I thought looked really, really busy. Yeah, Salazar was the header he saved it from. That was unbelievable, that save. But I was a bit worried when Armstrong came on because he looked really busy, and I thought he's going to cause us some trouble. But fair play to Big Dan Birdie.
He's not prolific, though, is he, Adam Armstrong?
No, he's not at all. Got some more comments flying in here, mate, so we'll just cover some of these. Eddie Howe's class. They've only lost one all season. We are mint. Well said, Daniel, absolutely. And man of the match, well, that's probably an interesting place to take it there, isn't it? Because, there was a moment of magic, mate, wasn't there? We've got to talk about it. Corner comes in from Ryan Fraser. Header across from Big Dan Burn. And what the hell was that unbelievable piece of what, mate? You're going to go. What a goal, mate. What a goal.
Oh, I'm going to have dreams about that tonight. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you look at the first goal, that second goal gave all of us fucking wood, I think, mate, because that was the sexiest goal I think I've seen in a long fucking time. That was unbelievable. Oh, I didn't see the game, Lee. Yeah, to be fair, mate, watch the highlights. I don't think we were comfortable. It was a decent game, I think.
Dubravka had saves to make, definitely. They threatened Southampton, but and we were just more clinical, I think, is perhaps the best way of looking at it.
I think that's possibly right. And Mark saying that Villa softened them up for us. I'm not sure about that, mate, to be fair. I'm not sure about that. But, mate, we'll get into this goal, just a bit more detail. Ralph Hasenhüttl must have been crying into his cap. He wasn't wearing his cap tonight, but he must have been crying into it when he went in the changing room.
Imagine his tears tonight.
Mate, we could swim in a river of Ralph's tears because
I'm was pissed. Personally.
We could just row a boat down his fucking river of Ralph's tears, but he didn't. Obviously, had a big problem with the January signings, didn't he? He made a real dick of himself, and he even did it at the press conference in the lead up to this game. But imagine him in his face to see Wood scoring a header, but then Bruno scoring that absolutely filthy goal to win the game 2-1. I mean, mate, that's what you pay 40 million quid for, isn't it?
It is. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't expect Bruno to be scoring from like a sort of a headed cross back set piece, for example. But that improvisation shows why we've paid the money for someone like that. Because you think who else is going to do that perhaps in our squad? You think maybe saint-maximin could pull something like that out, but realistically,
possibly Wilson. Wilson scored overhead kick. He's capable of a bit of magic
against Palace earlier on in the season, but. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. Just to have the awareness as the ball comes back across from Dan Burn to be facing with his back to goal and stick that in with his back heel. Oh, it's fantastic. What's this Mark saying about some?
Oh, what's Mark saying there? Is he coming back? We did go back to Daniel's comments there because that was a good one as well. What did he say? There's some bit of Saints fans on social media saying we were shit and there for the taking, blinded by Ralph's tears. To be honest with you, I think the problem is with Southampton is they probably thought they were scoring a touchdown or two with the way they were going before the game, Mark, and they're obviously not looking at real football. They're looking at American football. But we're going back to Dan's comments there, Daniel's comments, mate. That's bang on. 21 points in 26, unbeaten in 9, mental. You're totally right, Daniel, that the turnaround under Eddie Howe has been unbelievable. It really has. I mean, this team just looked like a completely different side. Ironically, what Ralph Hasenhüttl tried to imply we were. But the January transfers, it was only really the 3 of them that were playing. Or sort of a target, I suppose, 4. But, you know, our team was in such disrepair and disbalance.
Yeah.
It needed addressing, you know. It doesn't matter who bought us, you know. Bloody Willy Wonka could have bought us rather than the Saudis. And we still needed to buy a couple of players, mate. So for Hasenhüttl to say that, I thought was really small-minded.
Yeah,
if he went to Newcastle, he'd need to do the same thing. So
this is the thing. It's not just the new signs. Howe's transformed the players who were performing badly at the start of the season. You know, like John, I know he wasn't brilliant tonight, but John Joshavi's become good. Willock's become fantastic.
Oh, Willock was superb tonight, mate.
Yeah.
Willock was superb.
Ryan Fraser, a man transformed. So yeah, James, I know. Sorry.
If you stop asking him if he's all right, mate, he's just going with the flow.
Sorry, James. But I do apologize.
You're right, mate. I mean, the transformation in these players is incredible. I mean, even the old friends of Steve Bruce have gone extremely quiet, mate, haven't in the mainstream media. You don't hear. I heard it was Danny Gabardon was talking about the game tonight, and he was saying Newcastle don't do this under the previous manager. He was very adamant. He was very. You know, and I remember last time I saw him commentating on a Steve Bruce game, he was a bit of a friend of Steve Bruce. He was sticking up for him and all this kind of stuff. But there was none of that tonight at all. Absolutely none of that at all, man.
No, I mean, Steve Bruce is he's now at West Brom, and obviously the attention's not on him as much. But it does show just, you know, that turnaround you mentioned there, how much we have transformed. Because this team, I was talking about that before. When that Southampton first goal goes in tonight, I think under Bruce we capitulate at that point.
Definitely, 100%.
Absolutely capitulate. And then, but tonight, you know, it's a completely different story. We don't panic. We stay calm. We get the equaliser, then we go on and win the game. That's the complete difference. And not just against anyone, but Southampton, who are a good side, who have done really well this season. You know, won a lot of games. Played really well at our place at the start of the season, and of course, got that very last-minute draw. But we're probably the better team. But yeah, it's just remarkable supporting Newcastle at the moment. There is such a feel-good factor about the club, around the city, that, and as James quite rightly says, I'm going to have to agree with him this time, we generally could beat anybody right now.
I think we generally could. I mean, Chelsea will not be wanting to play us, mate, at the weekend. You know, the form that
I know we beat Norwich tonight, but, you know, we're in better form than they are at the moment. And of course, everything that's going on at Chelsea at the moment.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, they might see if they can borrow a couple of quid off Amanda and Jamie Rubin possibly when we get there, mate. But that's a good shout by Lee as well. If we'd had to take over and bought the same players under Bruce, we'd probably still be in the bottom 3. I agree with that, Lee. I think he couldn't motivate those players. You know, the likes of Dan Burn possibly would have motivated himself, but he probably would have played Bruno at fucking left back or something stupid like that, and he'd be doing like unbelievable touches and turns in his own box or, you know, in his own half, and instead of doing this moment of magic that he did tonight that won us the game. But you know what, Dan, it excites me because this is the kind of quality of player that we can attract and we can buy now. When you're playing games like that, whether you're trying to stay up or whether you're pushing for Champions League or whether you're pushing for the title, you need players that have those sparks of quality, don't you? And we've only ever had 1 or 2. You know, we've got another couple of them now in Willock, you know, and Bruno, you know, and mate, it's just so exciting, isn't it? What could be with another 3 or 4 of these guys, mate?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, at the moment, I was talking to my friends about this today. If we'd been like sort of this from the start of the season, where would we be now? Perhaps top 10, just pushing like around that sort of mid-table. And then you add another 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 signs in the summer, and high quality, high profile signs in the summer, which you'd probably expect at the moment. Next season, you know, are we challenging for Europe?
Mate, we could be challenging for Europe this season, the way things are going. I mean, we're sitting on 31 points.
The chance we could end up in the Europa Conference League the way we're going.
Well, I think the commentator on the stream I was watching made a really good point. He said, you know, if Liverpool win both cups, or if one of the bigger boys win the cup, and then the European places go down and down. To be honest with you, we could very well certainly be top 10, mate. I mean, we're 31 points now. We're 4 points off 10th place, which is currently the team we've just beat Southampton. So yeah, mate, the way we're playing, mate, Christ, anything's possible, really, including England call-ups for Burn or Target, James. Great show. I think
they're in great form, aren't they? You couldn't really say no. I know Southgate, he's never had like a massive liking of Newcastle players, or at least I don't think he has, at least. But you couldn't begrudge them one at the moment. They're in excellent form. Of course, Trippier probably would have been in had he not been injured.
Yeah, of course. But if you look at Maguire and Shaw, Dan, they've been terrible this season. Terrible. Target and Burn are playing way beyond the quality of Maguire and Shaw. But me and Mark talked about this on Pitch Patter on Monday night, and Maguire is one of Southgate's trusted lieutenants. It doesn't seem to matter how bad he's playing for Manchester United, he'll still get in that squad, and that's what I don't like about Southgate. He has those favourites. I think as an international manager, you can't really do that. But that's a good comment from Mark there as well. It's togetherness now among the players, management team, owner, fans. It's not been like this in years. I mean, Dan, we've said this numerous times on Evermore, mate. You've kind of grown up in the Mike Ashley era as a supporter. And you've never really known this kind of unity that that we saw in the Keegan days. You had a bit of the Robson, but you were a bit too young to remember. This must be amazing for you, mate.
It's phenomenal. The best I can remember, to be honest, that I'm actually I can remember in my head was 11-12 when we finished 5th, and that was a fantastic season. It was
Ben Arthur and Kabay and Teode, and it was great. So.
I know that was the best Mike Ashley season by some country mile, by some distance.
100%.
But yeah, apart from that, it's not been good, has it? Growing up watching this club, and you hear about, you watch all the highlights of days gone by when you were, obviously in my case, not born or too young to remember, and it is frustrating. But now you feel like those days could be back, and back even more so than perhaps even previously, if this ownership and this regime take us to the next level, and we do end up winning things as they're hoping and predicting that we will. But yeah, it's just phenomenal. The whole city just feels united, as I said before, and it's just such a feel-good factor. Winning games, you're excited for the next game. You're not dreading the next game anymore, which I think is a massive thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there from James. I'd quite like to take that, Dan, if you don't mind. I think what's changed since the Cambridge game, I think it's time. It's time together as a squad. It's time together with Eddie Howe. It's time for him to figure out how to get the best out of these players. It's time for these players to understand how each other play. The likes of, Burn, Target, Trippier before he got injured. It's time for him to work with Joe Willock and figure out how he can get the best out of him. It's time to figure out how to get Bruno into the side. And I really think that's what it's been. It's been time. And I think the time has been spent so wisely by Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall. And you've got to give them huge credit, haven't you, mate, for what they've done.
Yeah, as we've mentioned, this was a team back in November time, October, November, even September, that was just in disarray.
Dead and buried. Everyone said dead and buried. Yeah.
Mark makes a very good point there as well. Fitness too is a huge factor because they weren't fit. Yeah, the pre-season that they had, as has been mentioned many occasions, was not good enough. They were.
You can physically see that though, mate. You can physically see them, can't you, in games like that?
They can go for longer in games and they can run harder and for longer, which they weren't able to do. They get to the 60th minute prior in the previous regime and run out of puff, and that would be it.
That was 100%.
Exactly. But now they're going to the full 90, and the press is unbelievable, and they just. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but they just look in much better shape. Of course, tactically, they're much more aware. Prior to this, they were unaware. They didn't know what they were doing half the time. Players looked as if they didn't know they were out of position, or they'd be caught short in lots of areas on the pitch.
Yeah,
and so it's just an absolutely I don't know what word I was trying to say there. Fantastic.
Fanatisala.
Yeah, something like that.
You're still dazed after that Bruno back heel. Just going back to what Mike's saying there.
In my head constantly.
Oh, mate. Well, just going back to what Mike said, I wanted to pull that back up. But Bruno will be a fixture in the team now, and Joe Linton to come back in, for competition for places. I think Bruno's always been in Eddie Howe's mind to how does he get him in this team, because Eddie Howe's seen this guy in training, and I'm sure even though the lads have seen him in training, thinking, Jesus, because he's so calm on the ball. He picks the right ball every time. He just seems to be completely unfazed by any other player coming towards him. Like other players panic a little bit. You can see them get a little bit of a rush of blood to the head. He hasn't got any of that. And obviously he's just trying to get him fitter. And you saw tonight, he started to cramp up. He wasn't used to the kind of pace of the game. I mean, to be fair to Southampton, just a little word on them. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ward-Prowse. I've never made a secret of that. No. I thought he was great tonight. I thought he was picking up passes. He was involved in everything Southampton were doing. But we were so structured and we were so disciplined that we didn't allow those balls to come to anything, because we had men in the right positions to cut it out, to get the blocks in. Joe Willock at the end, that block, incredible block. I think fantastic. Dan Burn nearly banged him off the floor, hugging him, because the block was amazing. But when you've got players putting their bodies on the line like that and stopping a player like Ward-Prowse, making that killer ball or picking up the run that he's trying to pick out, that's discipline. They've worked on that through the week, Dan, haven't they? Eddie Howe said, watch out for Ward-Prowse pinging them passes, hasn't he, mate?
Yeah, but it's just in general, they're actually understanding how opposition teams play and countering that and being ready for that, which before it was, in old press conferences gone by, it was, we'll need to be at our best because these are all good. But now, I mean, yes, we're focusing on ourselves, but we're actually understanding how other teams play as well. And it's just great to watch because, as I said, you go into a game thinking, yes, we can beat these.
Yeah, now, mate, it's sensational. Like you say, Southampton are a good side. They'll be disappointed, but when you've got a player who can pull a bit of magic out of the bag, mate, it was absolutely superb. Yeah, man of the match for me. I know James asked it earlier. Man of the match for me. To be honest with you, it was Bruno will get the headlines, but I think Joe Willock was man of the match for me. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. His work rate was incredible, and that block at the end was just brilliant.
I mean, personally, I'm going to give it to Chris Wood just for getting that goal. Because I think he's deserved it so much, and I think he was actually quite good on Saturday. I think he's one of our better players on Saturday against Brighton.
He had some lovely that spin. Was it for the chance that went through? Yeah, instead of the first goal. That was, he's starting to look a bit better. I mean, I think seeing him even with Wilson at some capacity where Wilson comes back could be quite dangerous. That, to be fair, Bruno will dominate Kante on Saturday. We are getting carried away now, aren't we, mate? But just a bit on Sunday, mate, before we shoot off. Obviously, Chelsea are a different animal altogether. I do think they can be got at. I don't think they're infallible. They're not Liverpool or City, but they're a very good side, full of world-class players, mate. What do you think going into that? Just a quick kind of thought on that, mate, for Chelsea. Would you take a draw, or do you think we're good enough to get a win?
I'd take a draw now. I mean, obviously, it's Chelsea. It's a different beast to Southampton, as good as they've been all season. Chelsea, I mean, yes, of course, they're going through their own, mire at the moment, and it's one hell of a situation going on at that club right now, which could disrupt. I mean, it hasn't disrupted things enough tonight because they've gone and beat Norwich 3-1. But by the time things actually settle in terms of what's going on at that club, who knows how they'll turn up on Saturday? But I'd take a point now. I think that's certainly possible the way we're playing. If we get beat, we get beat. It wouldn't be the end of the world because, they're a fantastic side with some fantastic players. But I think a point is very much possible the way we're playing. I think, imagine if we had our full strength side, if we had Wilson, if we had saint-Maximin, if we had Trippier,
mate,
and Joe Linton as well, and Guimaraes, I think we could go there and actually get something the way we're playing at the moment.
Do you know you would? I'm just laughing at the comment there. You would fancy that. James is back at it again. 2-0 to the 2, and he's getting carried away with his mystic Meg tagline here, is James now. So we'll quiz you on that on Sunday, James. But yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, I think Chelsea are a great side. I would take a draw all day long. But the way we're playing, mate, you just don't rule us out of any game now at the minute, mate. The way we're playing, so we're not going into games defeatist anymore, which I just think is absolutely. It's a breath of fresh air, mate. As a Newcastle fan, young and old, mate, it's a bloody breath of fresh air for us both, mate. Absolutely. But I think that's about time for us to wrap up, mate. For it's been a bit longer than normal, but we're just so buzzing about this result.
We are indeed.
And that goal, we're just absolutely over the moon. But as I said at the start, guys, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We absolutely love having more subscribers on board, but we're doing a lot more content. As you can see, Evermore is growing every single week. Obviously, we're doing these post-match reviews as well. We had a special on Joe Linton that's just gone over 3,000 views, which me and Mark are absolutely blown away to be honest with you, for the size of the channel and how young we are. So to have 3,000 views on the video is incredible. So thank you so much to everybody who's supported that. And Dan and I will probably be back with Evermore very soon. I think you might be back on next week, Dan. I'm actually having a week off. James is in charge.
Of course you are, Chris.
You behave. Yeah.
Another Mamma Mia trip, are we? Another Mamma Mia trip.
No. Sadly, I'll be at work. I won't be anywhere near as excited about talking about Newcastle, mate. But we'll be back on Sunday with another post-match review. But until then, let's keep supporting that team we call United, and let's just enjoy winning every single fucking week. Stick it up your Ralph Hasenhüttl. Come on, the lads. Go, mate.
How are the lads?
Away the